Hello, I am interviewing Sally Chung for freelance graphic designer. So, could you have a brief introduction to the career and the goals to the career?
Yeah. Well, I had my own art practice. I'm a practicing artist, but I'm also a teacher. But in between that, I'm a freelance graphic designer, and that came very natural, very organically because I feel like when you come out of art school, you also have to know like Adobe Suite to kind of edit your artwork. So, in terms of being a freelance graphic designer, it involves kind of building your own clientele and then helping them make graphics, whether it's for posters, events, social media pages, brochures. Sometimes it's like website design. So you're pretty much kind of lending your artistic vision and your skills to like a client who needs help rebranding their business.
Cool. So, how's the work life experience, and on a typical day, what do you do?
Yeah, so I've had experiences both being a freelance graphic designer, but also working in-house at a company doing graphic design as well. A typical work day is like you have a brief, your job or whoever you're working for, freelance gives you sort of like a goal, like I need a total rebrand of this event that's coming up over the summertime. It involves this and this, and then you use those sort of parameters to then create like a mood board, a color scheme, a typography um, guide. And I would say every day you just like sit at a computer and then you like constantly just do edit, edit, edit. There was a lot of like R&D. So like sometimes I'd be on the computer for like multiple hours a day, kind of just researching what's already out there, trying to see if that'll inspire me. So creativity wise, there is that thread where you get to like kind of like make up something that's never been done before. But then a lot of those hours are also sort of the development process where you're like tinkering around with ideas, logos. So a lot of times you'll make like 7 to 10 of the same design and then like choose the last one, which one you like the best. I would say it it sounds kind of glamorous, but it usually has the final say always comes from like the client or your boss. So like you might have 10 designs you did and worked for like a week on and they scrap them all or they choose one that you don't really like very much. So it's it's kind of a lot of busy work, a lot of computer staring, a lot of back and forth in terms of refining your design. So if you don't mind kind of obsessing over one thing until it's perfect. And I think being a graphic designer is perfect for you. Um, yeah, what would make you a good fit for this career if you were like a total perfectionist, if you find a joy from creating something for someone else, not necessarily for you, because this is very much a job that's catered to the client and the client is always correct, especially if they're paying you. So it's kind of like a balance, a scale, like you're weighing your creative expression and your like art basically with like what someone else wants, right? So there's always going to be that struggle and that balance, but if you can like live with that and you find that exciting because it might create a discovery that you would never have thought of, then like that would be a great fit for you.
So, what drew you to this job, and how did you get into it?
Honestly, like I will say the only reason I started doing graphic design was because I felt that it would expand my skill set and then it would give me like additional income while I made my own studio art. And it did pretty well. Like it's obviously like gaining freelance clients is always kind of up and down. Like sometimes it's a friend of a friend who needs something and they know that you can do graphic design. So it's sort of starts with networking first. If you're trying to get into graphic design, I highly recommend that you like start at a design house first, get pretty cemented in that world, get a lot of like experience under your belt, and then kind of branch out once you feel like you have like a constant array of clients you can go to that will be very stable. Otherwise, I feel like if you're going to be a freelance graphic designer and make that your sole job, that's hard to do without all that like back experience. For me personally, I did freelance graphic design just because I wanted side money. So it's not like I depended on it for my sole source of income. So it was nice, like if someone needed something like maybe twice a year, or if it came really randomly, that was fine for me. Um, but yeah, that's why I started.
Can you think of any downsides to this career or any regrets that this has caused?
Yeah, so I mean, that's directly related to why I started it. Obviously, I did not start it for like passionate reasons. Um, but I mean, I think that's the plus side of trying out a lot of jobs and occupations. You figure out which ones you don't want, so you can then narrow down what you do want. And for me, graphic design, I thought would come really naturally because I thought I had an eye for design, and I like when things look really pretty. It really bothers me when a company has really, really bad branding. Um, so I was like, you know what, you can change the world through design. And that I still think that's totally true. For me, it was I was not willing to compromise my like artistic style or ideas for someone else, which is very, very aligned with what a studio artist would think like. So for me, I just like didn't have it in me to like put on my designer hat and then like let go of my artist hat. And I think that's a lot of like uh, that's something not a lot of people realize when they get in the field, that they won't don't have a lot of say, especially if you're working on really, really big projects with big clients. The kind of freedom of you to do things kind of narrows even further, just because those companies have very, very strict style guides that you need to follow. So for me, like I didn't really feel like making artwork for someone else. That was pretty much it, which is why I eventually like went more towards teaching.
So how do you do promotion work for this career? Yeah. How how do promotions work for this
Oh,
career?
sorry. I read that differently for some reason, even though I've answered already. How do promotions work for this career? So yeah, I know a lot of friends who permanently work in design houses. And usually you'll start out like as a junior designer, and then you'll do some of sort of the busy work for the senior designers. And I think it's really just about like longevity, like how long you're there for. Usually you kind of have to like um put in your hours, and then I think you just slowly move up the ladder of like senior designer. And then if you're doing a good enough, then you'd go up to the art director, and then that like trickles down. So like if you're an art director, you make all the creative decisions, and then you kind of tell everyone else to make it for you, right? Which for me was like a nightmare. I was like, but who knows? Like my nightmare might be your passion. You're like, oh my God, I love having a straight guideline for what I need to do and like have all the school tools and skills to be able to do it. And some people really like that structured goal in their artwork. So
So how do you get started in this career?
how do you get started? I would say learn Adobe Suite as fast as possible. So, like, even if you're in high school or in college, just play around with the program, specifically Adobe Illustrator, Photoshop, and InDesign, and get really, really well versed with those on your own. And then start like making fake briefs. So, like, find a company that you always go to. Maybe it's your favorite like Chinese restaurant down the street, and then try to rebrand it just on your own. And then like think about style guides. So like what color scheme would you use? How would you change their logo? How would you change the typography or the menu? Kind of work from there. Start making fake briefs so that you have something in your portfolio. Because that's pretty much what you're going to do when you go to college for graphic design. They make you, or they give you fake briefs. You'll do a comprehensive redesign, and then you will put that in your portfolio. And then people who are hiring you will be like, oh, okay, I kind of see like how creative you are with the briefs that are given. I can kind of see your skill set from these fake briefs. And then that's going to kind of get your feet wet until you actually work with real clients, and then like have the portfolio to back that up.
How has this career changed you as a person?
How has it changed me as a person? I would say, well, I know this is a job career for a freelance graphic designer, but I would say it kind of helped me realize like kind of realistically what it means to have a job. You know, sometimes it's not totally glamorous. Sometimes you do it because you realize it's not for you. And I don't think that's any time wasted. I think it honestly helps you kind of redirect you off the path. So for me personally, it helped reinforce me to realize that I really love teaching and being with people and helping them kind of helping them foster their creativeness rather than sort of being like a drone or like a design robot for a company. So for me, it helped me figure out my true goals. But again, for you, you might find the discovery that like creating this brief is really cool because it'll then be consumed and seen by millions of people around the world, especially if you work for big companies. So if you feel like you're very, very keen and would feel fulfilled, kind of like making an artwork within a team and then seeing that grow and like be out in the world, then like go ahead. This is like 100% probably for you. So
Okay. And do you have any additional comments?
yeah, I mean, I would just say like no matter, even if you're like sort of interested in graphic design or sort of interested in teaching or art or whatever it is, like explore all of your sort ofs and your thoughts. I mean, for me, I went from art school to teaching to like EMT school to like graphic design, then back to teaching. And it's honestly was kind of a whirlwind, but like when you're coming out of college and trying to find a job, like you have to kind of dip into all of these things to figure out what you like. It's like tasting food, right? You eat and eat to figure out which ones you don't like and which ones you do like. So treat job seeking the same way. Don't feel so discouraged if a career doesn't go your way. Because I know plenty of people, I would say maybe 70% of my friends had a career change in their 20s. So I would say I am normalizing that for you. Not a lot of people will say that to you, and you have the pressure to try to figure that out automatically, but that's rarely the case.
Okay, thank you so much.